Tucked away in a quiet spot between office towers in downtown LA is Biddy Mason Park, a pocket park dedicated to the life and memory of Bridget Biddy Mason, an African American midwife and landowner who was a pillar of the early Black community in Los Angeles, California. The park is on the site of Mason's homestead, on a lot that by the 1980s had become a desolate parking lot. Trees, picnic tables, and sculpture enliven the small space. In the adjacent Bradbury building, in the lobby, an installation by artist Betty Saar, Biddy Mason, House of the Open Hand, includes an archival photograph of the front of the Masons' homestead. And this is an image of the original archival photograph. This is an image of the installation. You can see there's a photograph on one side, but then the other side there's a collection of artifacts, including a portrait of Mason. But the real centerpiece of the park is a small memorial dedicated to Ms. Mason that charts the course of her life. The artwork, Biddy Mason, Time and Place, is an 80-foot-long poured concrete wall by artist Sheila Livrant de Bretteville. The wall is a timeline of Biddy Mason's life, illustrated by impressions of objects such as agave leaves, wagon wheels, and a midwife's bag, as well as simple text and images such as an early survey map of Los Angeles and Biddy's Freedom Papers. So let's take a little tour along the wall. The first panel shows Biddy Mason, born a slave. Biddy learns midwifery while she's enslaved and becomes a practicing midwife and healer. The next portion of the wall documents her traveling from where she was enslaved in Mississippi to over the overland trail to California, and you see the impression of the wagon wheels. She walked behind the wagon of her master and was transported to present-day Los Angeles. California was a free state at the time, so Biddy was eligible to sue for her freedom, which she did. She was granted, and the judgment document is reproduced on the wall. After this, Mason goes on to purchase land and establishes her homestead at the site where the park is located. She becomes a pillar of the community, founds the AME Church in Los Angeles, and then the wall also documents the ways in which this community grows and the role that Biddy Mason plays in it. Her practice as a midwife flourishes. She becomes, as I said, a community institution. And you can see here the panel that talks about her work as a midwife. She delivers hundreds of babies, and this is actually a map of early Los Angeles that's also located on this panel. The final part of the wall documents her death and her celebration by the community of which she was such an important part. This panel includes not only her portrait, but also her mark, the X, which she used to sign all her deeds. The park is now an enduring part of the landscape of Los Angeles and is a site for tours as well as other kinds of community events. And therefore, the absence of Biddy Mason from this landscape has now become a presence, part of opening up the historic silences of this particular urban site.